Dread. Hate. Despair. The weapons of a killer are in Ember's hands. They become an unstoppable wildfire.
Welcome everyone to this Ember video, where I'm about to show you yet another way to play this frame. This time the theme is Fire and Hatred, as I'm cosplaying my Ember as Stalker. It feels especially fitting with another chapter of Jade's story arriving in just a few days. Table of content is on screen right now, and a huge disclaimer. Please ignore the tempting view. It is only there for audience retention purposes and absolutely nothing else. Nothing important going on there. Also, this build requires a fair amount of investment and features items locked behind a time gate. Yes, I'm talking about Incarnon Genesis adapters. With that out of the way, let's get into it. This is a strength, duration and base range build where we are going to be killing enemies through both direct damage and status effects, specifically hit procs. Our loadout consists entirely of Stalker weapons, Dread, Despair and Hate, all with their Incarnon forms activated. We are going to abuse the combination of faction mods and Roar to massively boost our hit proc damage, while our Arcanes, Companion and the rest of the setup push our damage output even further. And some of those interactions are a lot stronger than they might seem at first glance. I will show you why in just a moment. As for the abilities, I just want to quickly go over a few key aspects. Our passive grants additional ability strength for every enemy affected by heat, and thankfully our companion will be handling that job for us. Our first ability uses the Fireball Frenzy augment to coat our weapons with heat damage that doesn't combine with modded elements, and it also applies to allies. Our third ability can armor strip whenever needed, which is the main reason I decided to keep range at its base value. Our second ability helps a bit with survivability, and finally Roar is my helminth ability of choice. That said, feel free to use whatever your heart desires. Moving on to the build itself. I would have preferred using orange archon shards for secondary critical chance, but since I'm committed to using all 3 Stalker weapons, I ended up going with a full utility setup instead. This means 2 equilibrium shards, 2 max energy and 1 parkour velocity. Now for Ember's mods. Growing Power, Transient Fortitude and Blind Rage are our primary strength modifiers, with Precision Intensify pushing Roar even further. Primed Continuity and Ogre Message give us a comfortable amount of duration. Primed Redirection, Fast Deflection and Arcane Aegis are here because I hate shield gating, and shield tanking is superior. This is the hill I am dying on. Fireball Frenzy we've already covered, and our second arcane is Arcane Hot Shot. Normally, activating it would be a problem since it requires heat status effects applied by abilities, but fortunately that requirement is a lot less restrictive than it looks. More on that shortly. Now for the real core of the build, the weapons. First up, Dread. Its Incarnon form transforms its regular arrows into much wider projectiles. For evolutions I chose Hitman's Opportunity, Swift Deliverance and Zeroed In, although there are several solid alternatives available. All 3 weapons loadouts follow the same general philosophy, with the faction mod being the main thing that changes. I am running Primed Shred to offset the fire rate penalty from critical delay. Then we have Galvanized Scope and Vital Sense for even more critical stats. Galvanized Aptitude, Rifle Elementalist, the appropriate faction mod and Primary Deadhead all help push our damage higher. Terminal Velocity speeds up our projectiles, and finally Split Flights. This mod gives an absurd amount of multi-shot while also increasing projectile spread. I was skeptical at first, but once you go split flights, you never go back. Next we have Despair. In its Incarnon form, it fires kunai. It fires things that stick to enemies or surfaces before exploding after a short delay. Fatal Affliction is the evolution I recommend over the alternative, while everything else mostly comes down to personal preference. I opted for reload speed because the Incarnon ammo pool is tiny, along with hybrid stat bonuses to improve overall performance. As for the mods, we are running both critical stat mods, multi-shot, a gun CO that stacks with the second evolution, a huge boost to hit damage and hit proc damage, primed fulmination, which works despite not being listed in the stat screen, and of course the faction mod of the day. For the Arcane, Cascadia Flare is basically always fully stacked, and it's hard to say no to a free 480% damage increase. Finally, Hate. When transformed, its light attacks while moving or standing still launch explosive projectiles. For evolutions, I chose additional combo count when equipped to make charging Incarnon easier, extra range, and a large amount of status chance. The most important mod here is Burning Hate. Its effect reads: enemies affected by heat take 120% increased status damage from all sources when struck by hate. The obvious limitation here is that hate needs to hit enemies directly. Thankfully, melee influence, shocking touch, galvanized elementalists, and whipping wounds solve that problem nicely. Berserker Fury and Primed Reach make the weapon significantly smoother to use, while Conditional Overload and a faction mod push the damage even higher. Now we have established that this build becomes much stronger when enemies are affected by heat. The problem is that, outside of our weapons applying heat themselves, we don't really have a reliable way to spread heat to entire groups. This is where Diriga enters the picture. Manifold Bond allows Diriga's precepts, such as Arc Coil, to apply statuses from its weapon. Duplex Bond creates clones of Diriga that can only attack using its weapon. And Momentous Bond grants a random elemental damage bonus to that weapon. I have said weapon way too many times. But what weapon are we actually using? Verglas. Built for viral and hit, with proper elemental weighting, fire rate, status chance, and a ton of beam range. Both setups are key because Arc Coil counts as an ability for the purpose of activating Arcane Hot Shot, while Verglas is what provides the hit damage. That's already valuable on its own, but the interactions don't stop there. Every time Arc Coil, Verglas, or the clones apply a hit proc, it contributes towards Ember passive. On top of that, the random elemental damage from Momentous Bond passively primes enemies for free, improving all of our conditional damage effects. Finally, Diriga serves as a heat and viral primer. That means up to 50% armor reduction and well over 300% additional damage to health. Without Diriga, this build loses roughly 53.1% of its power and overall oomph. I know, this setup is very restrictive. It really needs a strong passive primer to reach those huge damage numbers. And here we are once again at the end of yet another video. To absolutely no one's surprise, this build is strong. It's a true hybrid damage and status setup featuring 3 excellent Incarnon weapons that hit hard on their own, all supported by Ember. And while Ember isn't exactly in her best spot right now, she still proves she's a powerful frame with absolutely nothing to envy from Temple. You can even run this setup using only one of the weapons. Just make sure you have something that can reliably and consistently apply heat and viral procs. Feel free to experiment with the many available Incarnon evolution options, and don't hesitate to test other strong or potentially even stronger helminth combinations. So, would I recommend Ember? Absolutely. even without the Stalker cosplay. Because if Dread, Despair and Hate can perform this well, just imagine what Ember can do with an even more optimized setup and even stronger weapons. Anyway, that's all from me, Tenno. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon in the next video, probably featuring Daddy Frost. Peace!